In the quiet suburban enclave of Maplewood Estates, where the streets were lined with aged oak trees and well-tended gardens, life generally moved at a gentle, predictable pace. Neighbors knew each other by name, and the soft murmur of conversation could often be heard on pleasant afternoons as residents sat on their porches. In this peaceful community lived the Hernandez family, who had long been known for their warmth and strong sense of community. Among the members of this family was their devoted Pitbull, Apollo, a dog whose history, marked by resilience and gentle loyalty, had transformed him into not only a beloved companion but also a guardian whose actions would soon ripple across the neighborhood. Apollo had arrived in the Hernandez household under circumstances that spoke of second chances and new beginnings. Once a stray wandering the urban streets, he had been taken in by the family after a chance encounter that revealed his surprisingly gentle nature and his innate desire to protect those around him. Over the years, Apollo had become a steadfast presence, joining the family on daily walks, comforting them during difficult times, and, as many in the community would later attest, watching over not just his human family but also the wider neighborhood. His powerful build was softened by kind eyes and a calm demeanor that belied the rough exterior of a dog once forced to fend for himself. In every wag of his tail and every measured step, Apollo exuded a quiet confidence that made those around him feel safe. One crisp autumn morning, when the leaves had transformed into a tapestry of red, gold, and burnt orange, the peaceful rhythm of Maplewood Estates was disrupted by a sudden, heart-stopping incident. Mrs. Evelyn Thompson, a longtime resident and one of the community's most cherished elders, had been tending to her rose garden in the front yard. Known for her gentle smile and wise, reflective eyes, Evelyn had lived in Maplewood for decades. Despite her age, she remained active and independent, often seen walking along the neighborhood paths or chatting with neighbors over the fence. On that day, however, as she moved about her garden, a misstep sent her tumbling onto the soft grass. The fall was sudden, a momentary loss of balance that left her sprawled on the ground, dazed and struggling to regain her footing. At that critical moment, Apollo, who had been lounging in the shade of the family's porch, sensed that something was amiss. His ears perked up at the sound of a soft thud and the startled cry of Mrs. Thompson. In an instant, his entire being shifted from repose to alert vigilance. Without hesitation, Apollo sprang to his feet and trotted purposefully toward the commotion. His eyes, filled with concern and determination, were fixed on the source of the disturbance. As he reached the garden, he found Mrs. Thompson attempting to stand, her frail arms trembling as she fought against the dizziness and pain of the fall. Apollo's reaction was both instinctual and deeply compassionate. He circled around her gently, barking softly at first, a sound that carried urgency without aggression. His bark was a clarion call, drawing the attention of nearby residents and signaling that something was wrong. Neighbors, already familiar with Apollo's protective nature, quickly rushed to her side. One kind soul, Mr. Jacobs, an elderly gentleman with a reputation for caring for his community, knelt beside Mrs. Thompson and helped her sit up on a nearby bench. Apollo stayed close, his presence both reassuring and alert, as if he were the living embodiment of the family's protective spirit extended to the entire neighborhood. In the ensuing moments, a small group of neighbors gathered around the scene, their voices filled with concern as they asked if Mrs. Thompson was hurt. "Are you all right, Evelyn?" one neighbor inquired gently. Evelyn, though shaken, managed a faint smile. "I think I just lost my footing," she replied, her voice trembling yet laced with gratitude as she looked into the eyes of Apollo. "Thank you, dear boy." The words, simple yet profoundly moving, resonated with everyone present. It was as if Apollo's presence had not only prevented further injury but had also restored a sense of calm and reassurance that the community so dearly needed. Over the next several minutes, as neighbors assisted Mrs. Thompson to a more comfortable position and checked on her condition, Apollo continued to maintain his vigil. He paced slowly around her, occasionally barking softly or nudging her with his snout as if reminding her to stay still. His actions were measured, displaying both the rigorous training he had received and a natural empathy that transcended the need for verbal communication. One neighbor, Mrs. Carter, later recalled in an interview, "I've never seen a dog so attentive." Apollo stayed by her side, almost as if he knew that if he left, She might get hurt again. It was a display of loyalty and care that touched everyone's heart. As the immediate crisis subsided, Mrs. Thompson was helped inside her home, where her family promptly contacted an ambulance. The incident, though minor in physical impact, had shaken the community to its core. Conversations soon spread among the residents about the remarkable intervention by Apollo. It wasn't just that he had barked or run over at the right moment, he had, in a sense, become a guardian not only for his family but for the community at large. His instinctive response had prevented a potentially serious accident, and the story of his loyalty quickly became a talking point at neighborhood gatherings, community centers, and even on local social media pages. In the days that followed, interviews with Mrs. Thompson provided a poignant glimpse into the personal impact of the event. Sitting in her cozy living room, with a soft throw draped over her lap and Apollo resting by her feet, she recounted the experience with a mixture of relief and tenderness. "I fell, and I couldn't quite get up," she explained, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But before I knew it, Apollo was there, barking and making sure I didn't get up too quickly. It was as if he was saying, 'Stay here, let me help you.' I felt so safe with him by my side." Her words, filled with genuine warmth, underscored the deep bond that had formed not only between her and Apollo but also among the neighbors who witnessed the incident. The heartfelt conversation was later shared at a community meeting, where residents expressed their gratitude for the dog's protective nature and discussed ways to strengthen neighborhood ties. Local news outlets, always eager for uplifting human interest stories, soon picked up the narrative of the protective Pitbull. Reporters visited Mrs. Thompson's home, capturing candid moments of her interaction with Apollo, and interviewed several neighbors who had been present at the scene. In one segment, a young reporter with a compassionate tone described how the sight of Apollo patrolling the garden had become a symbol of hope and solidarity for the community. "It's amazing," the reporter remarked, "how one dog's instinct can unite an entire neighborhood. Apollo's actions remind us that sometimes the most unexpected heroes come in the form of a loyal pet." Community leaders took the opportunity to reflect on the broader significance of the event. At a town hall meeting held shortly after the incident, residents and local officials discussed not only ways to ensure the safety of elderly citizens but also the role of animals in fostering a caring community spirit. One city council member noted, "We have seen today that our community is stronger when we look out for one another. Apollo's vigilance has reminded us that every member of our community, human or animal, has a part to play in making our neighborhood safer." His remarks were met with nods of agreement and applause, further solidifying the sense of unity that had been sparked by the incident. In the weeks that followed, the story of Apollo's intervention continued to inspire. Local schools incorporated the tale into lessons on empathy and responsibility, encouraging children to appreciate the importance of caring for the elderly and valuing the quiet heroism found in everyday life. Art projects, creative writing contests, and even community murals emerged as expressions of gratitude toward Apollo, with many residents choosing to honor him as a symbol of unwavering loyalty and protection. One community mural, painted on the side of the local community center, depicted a gentle pit bull with kind eyes standing watch over an elderly figure, a powerful reminder of the deep connections that bind a community together. Throughout this period, Apollo's daily routine remained a testament to his inherent nature. Whether he was playing in the yard with the Hernandez children or calmly resting on the porch, he always carried an air of quiet vigilance that reassured everyone around him. Neighbors often commented on how his presence seemed to imbue the entire street with a sense of security. And even those who had once been indifferent to the presence of stray animals now saw him as a cherished guardian. In one particularly touching interview conducted by a local community radio station, a neighbor named Mr. Daniels, who had witnessed the event firsthand, shared his reflections. "I've seen a lot in my time, but never have I seen such dedication in an animal," he said, his voice imbued with emotion. Apollo wasn't just barking, he was guarding, protecting, and making sure that Mrs. Thompson was safe. It's moments like these that remind you that love and loyalty can be found in the most unexpected places. His words resonated with listeners across the region, igniting a conversation about the profound impact that a single act of vigilance can have on a community's spirit. As the autumn days lengthened and the memory of the incident settled into a warm, Enduring legacy. The Hernandez family continued to nurture the bond between themselves and Apollo. They became active advocates for elderly care within their community, organizing neighborhood watch groups and safety seminars that focused on the well-being of seniors. These initiatives were not solely born out of concern but were inspired by the realization that every act of kindness, no matter how small, could transform lives and fortify a community's collective resolve. In the final analysis, the story of Apollo and his courageous intervention became more than a mere anecdote. It evolved into a living narrative that exemplified the transformative power of compassion and the strength of community bonds. It served as a reminder that while life may be unpredictable, the quiet heroism of a loyal animal can provide a steadfast beacon of hope, uniting people in their shared commitment to care for one another. In every whispered conversation, every shared smile, and every act of kindness that followed, the spirit of Apollo's watchful presence continued to shine brightly, a testament to the enduring legacy of love, protection, and the unbreakable ties that bind a community together. In the days and weeks that followed the incident, the neighborhood began to undergo a subtle yet profound transformation. The events of that fateful autumn morning remained fresh in everyone's memory, not only as a dramatic moment of crisis but also as a catalyst for community healing and unity. Apollo's courageous intervention had not only prevented further injury to Mrs. Thompson but had also sparked conversations about the importance of looking out for one another, particularly the vulnerable members of the community. Local residents, still discussing the incident at community gatherings and neighborhood meetings, expressed a deep sense of gratitude and renewed commitment to their collective safety. The once quiet streets were now abuzz with plans to form informal neighborhood watch groups and initiatives aimed at ensuring the well-being of the elderly. Community centers organized several safety workshops, where experts spoke about fall prevention, proper home maintenance, and ways to support aging neighbors. In these sessions, Apollo's calm yet resolute behavior was often cited as an inspiring example of how compassion and attentiveness could make a life-changing difference. Neighbors recounted how they had seen him trotting back and forth near the fence after the incident, his every movement a reminder that true guardianship was not limited to human effort alone. Meanwhile, the Johnson household embraced Apollo's newfound role with both pride and humility. The family, already deeply bonded by years of shared moments, now recognized that their beloved dog had become an unofficial ambassador of goodwill. Mrs. Johnson often spoke of the profound relief she felt, knowing that their pet had the instinct and heart to protect not only her own family but also extend that care to those living nearby. In quiet moments on the back porch, while sipping tea as the sun set in a blaze of orange and purple, she recalled the terror of that day and the immediate shift from fear to hope when Apollo had rushed to Mrs. Thompson's aid. Her voice, soft and reverent, echoed through the house, instilling in every family member a deep appreciation for the delicate balance between caution and care that Apollo had so beautifully demonstrated. Local media outlets were quick to recognize the inspirational nature of the event. Several television stations produced feature segments that highlighted the story of Apollo, using interviews with eyewitnesses, heartfelt testimonials from Mrs. Thompson, and candid accounts from neighbors who had been present during the incident. In one widely viewed segment, a local reporter stood outside the Johnson home with a gentle smile as she recounted how a simple fall in a familiar garden had turned into a powerful moment of community solidarity. "It's a reminder," the reporter said, "that sometimes the most remarkable acts of heroism come from the quiet, steadfast loyalty of our animal companions." Such segments not only captured the emotional essence of the event but also played a crucial role in reshaping public perceptions about pit bulls, an image long marred by stereotypes, now being replaced by genuine admiration for a dog with a heart of gold. As the story spread through social media, hashtags like #GuardianApollo and #PitbullProtector began trending locally. People from all walks of life shared their own experiences of how animals had unexpectedly come to their aid. And soon, video clips and candid photographs of Apollo patrolling the neighborhood were shared far and wide. Comments and posts overflowed with expressions of gratitude and calls for greater recognition of the essential role that well-cared-for pets play in our lives. Stories were retold in online forums and community blogs, each one echoing the sentiment that a loving, vigilant pet could transform fear into hope. In the comments, many praised Apollo for his brave actions and the gentle, protective manner in which he had intervened, a testament to the power of instinct and training when nurtured with compassion. Local authorities, inspired by the public's response, initiated several projects aimed at bolstering neighborhood safety. At the next town hall meeting, a city council member outlined a plan to increase street lighting and create designated safe zones for elderly residents, emphasizing that community safety was a shared responsibility. In his speech, he mentioned Apollo's actions as a shining example of how, when individuals come together with empathy and vigilance, even the most unexpected guardians can help protect their communities. His words resonated with a room full of attentive citizens, many of whom had witnessed the event firsthand or seen the viral footage online. In schools throughout Maplewood Estates, teachers seized the opportunity to integrate Apollo's story into lessons about empathy, responsibility, and community spirit. Students engaged in creative projects that depicted animals as protectors and heroes. And classroom discussions often touched on the importance of caring for elderly neighbors. One art teacher organized a mural project in which students collaborated to create a vibrant depiction of Apollo, surrounded by symbols of love and community support. The finished mural, now proudly displayed at the local community center, served as a daily reminder that courage and compassion can come in many forms and that every member of a community, regardless of age, deserves care and protection. Interviews with Mrs. Thompson provided a personal perspective on the impact of Apollo's intervention. Sitting in her cozy living room, with a favorite quilt draped over her lap and Apollo gently resting at her feet, she recounted the terrifying moments of her fall and the instant reassurance provided by the Pitbull's arrival. "I felt so frightened when I fell," she recalled softly, "but then I saw Apollo and heard his barks. And suddenly I knew I wasn't alone. It was as if he was there to shield me from harm and to remind me that help was on the way." Her heartfelt words, captured on local television and in newspaper articles, touched countless viewers, painting a picture of a community where compassion and vigilance were interwoven into everyday life. As autumn gave way to the early chill of winter, the story of Apollo's heroic act continued to inspire further acts of kindness within the community. Neighborhood groups organized seasonal gatherings to honor their local heroes. And at one such event, community members gathered around a bonfire to share stories of unexpected bravery. The evening was filled with laughter, tearful recollections, and an overarching sense of unity, a palpable recognition that every small act of protection and care contributed to a larger tapestry of communal resilience. Throughout the event, Apollo's image was honored with quiet applause and grateful nods from those who saw in him not just a pet, but a symbol of hope and a living testament to the power of compassion. In the months that followed, community leaders worked together to launch new safety initiatives. Local organizations collaborated with animal behavior specialists to offer workshops on responsible pet ownership and training, emphasizing how the innate qualities of a dog, when nurtured in a supportive environment, could serve to protect and enhance the lives of everyone in the neighborhood. These workshops, attended by both pet owners and residents without pets, fostered a spirit of mutual care and understanding. Participants learned about nonverbal communication, the importance of early intervention in potential crises, and how to nurture the bonds that make a community stronger. In these sessions, Apollo's behavior was often used as a case study, an example of how loyalty and vigilance can save lives and transform perceptions. Over time, the legacy of that autumn day grew into a symbol of collective hope. The Johnson family continued to honor Apollo by sharing his story at community events, through social media, and even in local government meetings. His actions had sparked a movement, one that challenged old prejudices and promoted the idea that every living being, no matter how misunderstood, had the capacity to be a guardian. The narrative of Apollo's bravery resonated deeply, inspiring not only those who had witnessed it firsthand but also individuals far beyond Maplewood Estates who encountered his story online. In one particularly moving community forum, a local council member reflected on the profound changes that had taken place in the neighborhood. "Apollo's actions taught us something very important," he said. "They reminded us that safety is not just a matter of infrastructure, it's about the bonds we share and the willingness to stand up for one another, especially for those who are most vulnerable." His words were met with a respectful silence, followed by warm applause, as residents nodded in agreement, feeling that they were part of a community defined by care and collective responsibility. As the winter season deepened, the quiet beauty of snow-covered streets and frosted trees provided a stark yet serene backdrop to the ongoing transformation within Maplewood Estates. Families took extra care of their elderly neighbors, and small acts of kindness became a daily ritual. In this atmosphere of renewal and quiet introspection, Apollo continued to patrol the Johnson backyard, his ever-watchful eyes and gentle presence serving as a reminder that protection and love could overcome even the coldest of nights. In reflective interviews captured on video and later shared online, many community members described how the incident had changed their outlook on life. "I used to think that nothing extraordinary could happen in our quiet neighborhood," one resident admitted, "but seeing Apollo in action, knowing that such loyalty exists, has given me a renewed sense of hope and unity." Another neighbor shared how the story had encouraged him to reach out to others, creating a network of support that extended well beyond the usual boundaries of the community. These testimonials, filled with sincerity and emotion, reinforced the idea that a single act of bravery could serve as a powerful catalyst for change. Local schools continued to celebrate Apollo's legacy through annual events and creative projects. Teachers organized essay contests and art competitions that invited students to imagine a world where every individual looked out for one another. In these projects, the story of Apollo, his determined gaze, his gentle barks, and his protective stance, became a central theme, inspiring young minds to think about empathy, courage, and the power of community. The resulting works of art and writing were compiled into a digital scrapbook that was later shared on the school's website, becoming a cherished resource for future generations to understand the importance of compassion and vigilance. By the time spring began to bloom again, the transformation in Maplewood Estates was unmistakable. The community had come together in a way that transcended the simple act of an animal's intervention. It had ignited a movement of care, resilience, and mutual support that reached every corner of the neighborhood. Apollo's story was no longer just about one fall prevented or one life saved. It had become a symbol of what could be achieved when individuals, guided by empathy and a sense of collective duty, worked together to protect the most vulnerable among them. On a clear, sunny afternoon, as the community celebrated a local festival in the park, the Johnson family organized a small ceremony in honor of Apollo. Neighbors gathered in a circle, sharing heartfelt stories of how the loyal Pitbull had touched their lives. Mrs. Johnson, with tears of gratitude glistening in her eyes, spoke of the profound impact Apollo's vigilant care had on Mrs. Thompson. In that moment of crisis, Apollo not only saved a life but also reminded us that every small act of protection can weave us closer together, she said softly, her voice filled with warmth and conviction. The ceremony, punctuated by gentle applause and shared smiles, reinforced the idea that heroism could be found in the most unexpected places. As the festival continued and children played on freshly mowed grass under a brilliant blue sky, the legacy of Apollo's bravery was celebrated not just in words, but in everyday actions. Neighbors began to check in on one another more frequently. Community initiatives flourished, and local media continued to highlight uplifting stories of animal heroism that were inspired by Apollo's example. The simple act of one Pitbull protecting an elderly neighbor had become a rallying point for the entire community, a beacon of hope that encouraged everyone to embrace the values of care, responsibility, and shared humanity. In the months that followed, the story of Apollo became part of the local folklore, recounted at town meetings, neighborhood gatherings, and even in local history books as a symbol of the extraordinary power of love and vigilance. His image, captured in candid photographs and shared widely on social media, remained a constant reminder that sometimes, true heroes come in the form of a loyal pet whose only desire is to keep those they love safe. And so, as Maplewood Estates continued to evolve and grow, the memory of that fateful day, and the steadfast guardian who had transformed it, remained etched in the hearts of its residents. Apollo's watchful presence had not only saved a life but had also inspired a community to come together, to support one another, and to recognize that the bonds of loyalty and compassion could overcome any challenge. In every smile shared, Every neighbor reached out in kindness. And every story told about that autumn day. The spirit of Apollo lived on. A timeless testament to the enduring power of love, protection, and community.